Alright, hello everyone. If you're joining us live, welcome to this tournament game live stream, which is coming from the Wingspan Tournaments Discord. So we have a round one matchup today from the Vouillé Duck Dash, which is a single elimination best of three knockout tournament featuring 100 players from the Wingspan Tournaments Discord. So we have round one match here, which is between Groovenstein and Owlstanding. And talking you through the games today, my name is Flan, and I'm joined by my co-host once again, Motherlove. So hello, Motherlove, how are you doing?
Hello. Always fine.
Good.
Especially when such a good game is waiting for us here.
Absolutely, we've got two very strong players, so we should have a really good match in store. And as I said, it's best of three, so strap yourselves in. We could be in for a long afternoon / evening of very good Wingspan. So yeah, I think we are ready to get this game started, and I believe Groovenstein is going first, so you are free to send out the invite and we can get this started. So good luck to both players. Alright, what are we looking at? Oh! And we were only just talking about the wood duck on the server about half an hour ago, so yeah, very... we do have a Devim start, yeah, very nice to see the wood duck, so yeah, pretty much a no-brainer really. I guess the only question is, do you keep the cowbird along with it?
Yes, that's what I was going to mention as well. I would definitely keep the cowbird.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's a little bit tricky, I guess, in a sense, because he doesn't have that bowl nest, but you know, you can almost surely count on getting that at some point. Yeah, exactly, it's going to come. So yeah, it's not looking like he's keeping it at the moment, but there we go. Yeah, that feels like the right move to make.
Yeah, the thing with the cowbird is that even if he doesn't get it done by round one, if he puts it on round two or even round three, it's still good.
Absolutely.
If he forest engine at this point, so.
Yeah, it's one of those where, like you say, even getting it down at some point in the second round, you know, you're still going to benefit. You're still going to get a lot of eggs from that. So yeah, I think it absolutely makes sense. And you know, by the time he manages to get that down, he's probably been able to draw a bowl nest bird that's going to work with that. So yeah, I think that's a fairly straightforward decision at the start there for Groovenstein.
Which begs to wonder what he's taking so
Yeah.
much time for.
Yeah, that's you do wonder sometimes. You know, sometimes you second guess yourself.
Just making sure he's not forgetting.
Yes, yeah, you're not missing anything obvious here. And yeah, I think again the bonus card, maybe you might be tempted to go Falconer, but I guess with the existing cavity nests, I guess it makes sense, and maybe that might be partially why they're looking at the house run as well, just to double that up. But feels like an odd bird to keep at the start.
Could also do the first end of round goal, but I don't think you want to keep two birds is acceptable. You don't want to keep if you have a wood duck start.
Yeah, now that is interesting because I think you make a good point about using the house wren for that that end of round goal, but you know, he's gonna have to lay eggs before he can even consider playing the house wren. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that works from a tempo perspective. But let's have a look at what Owlstanding's got. That's quite a nice start, probably more conventional.
Yeah, very good start.
But yeah, you know, some strong forest birds. I think the Oriole and the flycatcher in particular are really nice. But that Merganser, that's a really nice wetland bird to get in your starting hand.
Yeah, it's funny because it's kind of exactly what you mentioned in the beginner tips video you just posted. There's a forest bird, there's a water bird. They both give like extra resources.
Exactly. Yep, I think these are the kind of birds you certainly look to, you know, if they're in your starting hand, you look to keep them. But if the potential to play them is there, then absolutely, you know, you want to be getting these brown powers down that are going to get you extra resources, because you know, resources are so precious in the early game, that being able to get 2 or even 3 in a single turn is such a strong position to have.
Bird feeder is actually really good for Owlstanding here. Is that Owlstanding or Groove? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it looks good on the surface, I guess, but you know that Groove is going to go in and take that seed. So
Yeah, that's true.
you're going to struggle if you're Owlstanding to get a worm on that first try. But I think if he plays the bird feeder smart and takes the right food, then you should be able to get a re-roll early enough in order to get the worm for that Merganser as well. But yeah, feels like a strong start. Good potential to get both these birds down early on.
He's gonna choose to keep free food, which I think is the safer option.
Yeah, I mean, he was looking at Kinglet and sort of considering the Junco as well. I think you're right that the 3 food makes more sense. I guess the only thing he's thinking is maybe, I could leave the fish because there is one in the feeder. And if he's going to have to take that to get the reset anyway, then it's not a terrible idea. And yeah, I mean, when you've got something like the Merganser that's giving you loads of free cards in your wetlands, being able to then tuck those behind the Junco is not a bad option to have.
I think he's also looking at the end of round goal.
Yeah.
But it might be a good late game option, the Dark-Eyed Junco as well. You never know what comes up afterwards.
Well, exactly. If you manage to pick a Killdeer or a Garland, we were talking to the players before the game and they were saying they've played at least 10 games on this server and they think every single one of those has had one of these overpowered birds in. So yeah, I don't think either of them would be particularly surprised if a Gull or a Killdeer comes up at some point in this game.
We'll see. What tends to happen normally is I bet the Wood Duck player is gonna get the overpowered birds they don't want.
Yep, that does seem to happen. You play a Wood Duck and then it gives you something else and forces you to think about that Tay-Ray pivot. But I think for Groovenstein it's just going to be use that Wood Duck, try and cycle through cards, and hopefully really you need a second Forest Bird as soon as possible to at least enable you to get 2 food at once. So yeah, I think for them it's just going to entirely depend on what they can get from the deck.
Yeah. Not a bad play at all here from Owlstanding.
Yeah.
I wonder if they kept an extra bird just to be able to throw it away.
Quite possibly.
Anticipating might have to reroll.
Yeah, that's not something I considered, but actually, yeah, that meant that they could get that reroll on the first try, and they didn't have to waste another turn going for the bird feeder. So yeah, I think actually. Oh, and there we go. What was I just saying? You play the Wood Duck and it gives you the Raven. So, ooh, that's going to be a tricky one to work out where you go from here. I mean, obviously, with these house rules that we have, that Raven can't go down in round 1 anyway. But do you keep it anyway? And if this Wood Duck doesn't work out and it doesn't give you the cards you want, maybe you do consider getting that Raven down in round 2.
I think it's the Wood Duck actually is a good first round bird if you had a Raven game, like if you were planning to play the Raven anyway. It's a good to pass the first round.
Yeah, it's a good point because it's enabling you to get the food to play the Raven, but also at the same time, you're drawing cards, and often, with a Raven setup, cards can be the problem. So if you're able to get at least a few of those in the early game, and maybe some nice ones to add and work nicely with the Raven, maybe some tucking birds, then yeah, that always is a good option to have.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The problem for Groove is gonna be card draw more than anything, which is why for now they can't really stray away from the Wood Duck.
Yep. So just looking at Owlstanding, I think they kind of have done as expected. Get that nice Forest Bird down, get that nice Wetland Bird down, and I guess for them it's just about trying to add to that. I think maybe they have an eye on this for, first end of round goal if they're looking at the double bird with the Condor. So potentially, I think they might just about have enough turns to get those both down and then lay eggs in. But it's certainly not a bad option to have.
Yeah, I think they were a big fast picking cards here. Because they saw Foster's turn and picked the Condor anyway, even though they were probably going to wanting to keep both.
Yeah, I think certainly the Forster's turn would be a nice one to keep, and yeah, they're now forcing themselves to discard that Condor that they just picked up. So it is unfortunate.
For me, there was no risk at all of actually taking the door, just because he's looking to play more expensive birds and higher value birds. Yeah,
I think there's 2 categories of birds, I guess, that the Groove is looking for at the moment. One of those will be something to add to the wood duck, and the other is going to be, like you say, those big point, high food cost birds. I don't think the condor's really something that he looked to add, and he already had a couple of chances to pick it up with the wood duck and chose not to. So that's always a good clue when your opponent does that, that it's not something they're interested in.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's a good duo for Groove actually doing the.
Yep.
What was it? I don't know the name. I don't only know the name in French. The Paroline Masquée. Because they could have played it with the Raven, and then pivot to a Grasslands engine.
Yeah.
Which, especially given the end of round goals, I think would have been stronger, but then they threw it away. So.
Yeah, I mean, we had this pointed out in chat. They're very egg heavy on these end of round goals. So every end of round goal is needing eggs somewhere, which is often the weakness of a wood duck engine like this. Is you just don't really have anywhere for the eggs to come from. But certainly, if you're going for that more conventional, Raven in the grasslands and lay lots of eggs, that certainly makes it a lot easier to meet and even try and win a lot of these end of round goals.
I think it might be worth from Groove's perspective. I don't know if you play the Toei to do the end of round goal, or if it's better to play the Sprax Pipit to do the end of round goal.
Yeah, I think he is considering the Tohi. Like you say, it's going to help with this end of round goal. It's got 4 egg spaces as well, so he could potentially play it and lay eggs twice. You're going to get a few more food, helps you get that Raven down if that's what he's looking to do, and yeah, it's going to get you 4 points from that first end of round goal, which is such a strong position to have early in the game.
Yeah, I mean, Owlstanding's probably not going to do this one. I think they gave up on it when they threw away the condor.
Yep. Yeah, I think they would have had the time if they kept the sparrow and the condor. They could have got food, laid eggs, got the sparrow and the condor down, then laid eggs again. I just think at this point they're probably not really looking towards doing that. I think their priority at this point is probably going to be try and get that Foster's turn down, and then they have such a strong card drawing option for the rest of the game. No, it's quite a nice draw there. Probably more strong in the sense that your opponent hasn't got it. Both of those birds, the violet green swallow and the sandhill crane, they work really nicely with a raven in the grasslands. So probably not the kind of birds. Maybe the swallow might still go down, but probably not the crane. But yeah, it's not a bad draw there for Owlstanding.
Opting to keep the crane over the Sprax Pipit is interesting.
Well, it's interesting again because I think the Pipit they took from the tray, so I think that might be 2 turns in a row now where they've taken something from the tray and then immediately discarded it, which is always an interesting play. Yeah,
so as a beginner tip for anyone watching, always take the face down cards before taking the face up cards.
Yeah. Whenever you have options especially with a power like the Maganza, where it's going to force you to discard, then I think you want to look at those face down cards. If there's one there that you are thinking, okay, I definitely discard that, then you can feel safe in picking a face up card.
I think what Owlstanding should probably do now is focus on playing his Foster's turn before the end of the round, just to prepare for the round 2 tray.
Yep, it's a good point. And it's a point we try and make quite a lot. Is if you know you're going first in that second round, you want to set your wetlands up in such a way that you're kind of prepared to draw cards. So just in case, if you do get some nice birds in that tray, then you want to be in a position to be able to pick as many of those up as possible. Okay, so it looks like Groove has kind of gone with what was expected. He's gone with the Tohi. It looks like he's going to lay eggs. I guess he's in the position where now he is probably safe in just laying eggs for once. But he can wait and see what Owlstanding does. If they choose to get a bird down in that grasslands, then he can lay eggs again. But if not, then he's pretty much got that end of round goal secured now.
Might also be worth playing the belted kingfisher. Might have been worth playing it this turn actually. I mean, from our perspective, we know that Owlstanding couldn't play any birds because he had no eggs, but You know, as early as you play it, the better it is, and it is gonna help for the second end of round go. And for his bonus card.
Yeah, I think absolutely he should try and get it down as soon as possible. I guess his question now is, you know, do I play that now and sacrifice some of that food that I've got and delay the Raven, or do I do what it looks like he's doing and you know, get a bit of extra food, but also more importantly try and, you know, pick up some nice birds with the wood duck.
Yeah, whistling duck is interesting just because it's bound to the wetland.
Yep. Yeah, I wonder if he's got a couple of eyes on, you know, 2 of those end of round goals are eggs in the wetlands and eggs in the cavity nest, and that's got 5 spots, and obviously helps their bonus card as well. So, and yeah,
I mean,
you know, if they do have to go to the wetlands for cards, then they will be able to have extra seeds for discarding from the Tohi. So it could well work out, but yeah, not the kind of usual play that you would see at this point.
Definitely, if he's pivoting to the grassland, which it certainly looks like it's what he's doing, he's gonna get free food every time, which is more than he realistically needs.
Yeah.
So he's gonna be able to get the couple points every time he goes to the wetland every time. So not a bad pick at all.
No, and like you say, you know, the Tohi's one of those birds where, because it just gives food to you, you're kind of always going to get it. I think in a situation like this, sometimes you might have a hummingbird or a phoebe, and at that point, once the Raven goes down, you know, you're skipping that anyway, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, if he's getting 3 food a turn, that's more than he's going to need to you know, play any bird. But here's a good example of what we were just talking about in the last round. You know, set yourself up to be able to draw cards, and yeah, House Finch in the tray is a really nice option, and I think definitely. You know, Owlstanding should be looking to pick that up and add it to the existing tucking bird they've got in their grasslands already.
House Finch definitely one of the better birds at any stage of the game, to be fair, which is why I think it's so powerful.
Yep. Yeah, and not a bad draw either. I think you know, the Cooper's Hawk might be something they look to get down. I think kind of that second forest bird is going to be key, because at the moment, you know, if they're drawing food and they want to get that extra food, it's costing a card. And I think whenever you've got these tucking birds in the grassland, you kind of want to save your birds for tucking. You don't want to be spending them, you know, discarding for extra food. I think it's important to try and get that second forest bird down now.
Did Wolf just take 1 card?
He did, and it's interesting. And I think he's flashing on the wood duck there. You know, we saw this in a game recently with, I think it was Captain Awesome, where he forgot he had the wood duck, and you know, nice bird comes up in the tray, and you just jump on it and you take it from the you panic, because absolutely he could have activated the wood duck. You know, you still get that bird, you get to look at another bird, and you get a bit of food. So it's a real brain fart moment, that, I think. And yeah, it seems like he's already realised his mistake, and he's probably, you know, kicking himself for that. But yeah, you just got to forget about it and move on.
He does have the food to play the Raven, so he's probably gonna get the Great Egret down before the end of this round.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, I'd imagine he's going to play the Raven. You know, maybe 1 or 2 turns, laying eggs and getting the food, and you know, by then he probably could do egret and either the kingfisher or the whistling duck, depending on which he prefers. And then, yeah, that still leaves him a couple of turns for laying eggs on those birds and hopefully being able to be in a strong position for this end of round goal.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm not sure if he's gonna play the kingfisher on its own just to get it down earlier and not spend too much food. But then he only matches the egg capacity of Owlstanding, whereas if he plays the Great Egret, he obviously has more.
Yeah. I mean, I think he could go for the whistling duck on its own. That has got 5 spaces, I think, so that would be enough to win it. But yeah, I think really you probably want to try and get that kingfisher down sooner. You know, it's going to help with that power. Maybe he doesn't need the free fish, but I think it's still a nice bird to get down. And yeah, he's certainly not going to be short on food with that grasslands that he's got set up.
Owlstanding is looking very nicely set up here. I think the only problem is gonna be because they have 2 tuck and draws in the grassland. They're gonna want to have a better forest, I think. So it's good that they have the woodpecker, because they're gonna be able to get to we put stage earlier.
Yep. Yeah, I think he took the rodent on the last turn with the intention of playing the hawk. I think he's kind of fallen into the trap a little bit there of just not having enough eggs. So if he's going to play the hawk, that's then all the eggs gone, and you can't then add the house finch. And he might even be thinking of doing the downy woodpecker and the hawk together as two birds, just to at least give that option of maybe he wants to discard a card later on. Which certainly is a bad play, but yeah, I think he's got to think carefully. I'd probably get rid of the Dick Sissel here. I was a bit confused when he picked up in the first place anyway, so I think for me, that Swallow and House Finch in the Grasslands, that's going to get enough tuck cards on their own.
You and I both. I think the Dick Sissel hinders you more than it advantages you here, just because you want to minimize how many times you go to the wetland.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Dick Sissel is just going to make you go to the wetland more.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, if you have these sort of terminating tucking birds that are not giving you a card in return, then like you say, eventually your cards are going to run out, and you then have to spend a turn in the wetlands, which is 0 points. I think you're always better off cycling through that grasslands, and particularly with a bird like the house finch, it's got so many egg spaces that you can really run that grasslands for quite a long time, just cycling through cards. And by the time you get close to filling up on egg spaces, you've almost certainly drawn something worth playing, which is then going to free up even more egg spaces.
Looking at how many turns there's left, I think Grove is going to have to play the Whistling Duck. They're not going to have time to play the take eggs again, then play both birds, and then they only have one turn to take eggs, so that's only 3 eggs.
Yeah, I think they might be okay, because if they've got 4 turns left, so if they lay eggs now, they can then get enough food to do the double play with the egret, and even the kingfisher as well. So
discounted.
Yeah, you forgot that with double birds it only takes 1 turn to play them both. But yeah,
I did that on purpose for the bingo.
Absolutely, yeah. So that will then give them a couple of turns, and they should easily be able to get more eggs than what Owlstanding is going to manage in their wetlands.
I'm not sure Owlstanding is prioritizing what they should play correctly, but it's hard to say. I think they have a lot of birds they want to play with now.
I don't mind what they're doing. I think they can still look to get this house finch now. I think that's the priority now. You've got good food access in your forest, and you've only got 1 egg. So I think you want to get that house finch down so that the next time you are laying eggs, it's going to be 5 points instead of 3, and you're really maximizing the number of eggs, the number of tuck cards you're getting. So certainly I'd be looking to go for food. There's exactly the right food in the bird feeder that they're looking for. You can then get that house finch down and start cycling through cards. And hopefully add that Forster's turn to their wetlands, just so that on the occasional turn that they do need to draw cards, they're at least being able to cycle through more, but also not spending eggs.
Yeah. Go for food, play the house finch, take eggs, end up with 3 eggs for the end of round, which is fewer than Groove is gonna end up with. Which, by the way, played the kingfisher, which is not what we expected.
Did they play the kingfisher on its own?
Yes.
That is interesting. So they are gambling a little bit. I think it probably will pay off, because
They do know that something has the house finch.
Yeah, but it still is always a risk. If you see that your opponent has the potential to still tie that end of round goal, although he's now played the Whistling Duck on its own as well on top of that. So very, very confusing plays. I think he could have looked to get 2 birds down in a single turn. I mean, maybe he's saving the egret for later, but
He's keeping the 7 and 9 point birds for the end.
Yeah, you want to have that flex of doing like a 15-point turn or something at the end, rather than I guess it makes sense. You want to get the kingfisher down and the Whistling Duck. If you are going to use it, you want those powers down so that you are actually able to benefit from them.
It's probably better than what we were suggesting, I think.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. And they have enough turns here. They can still legs a couple of times, and knowing again, like what we said before, they're going to be going first in the next round. So if they can make sure from that Tohi they're going to get 1 or 2 seeds, then at least they'll have something to tuck behind the Whistling Duck, and that's just going to help get them more points.
I think the 2A again for the round 3 is going to matter a lot.
Yep.
Because for now, I think Owlstanding has the advantage just because they're actually making quite a few more points than Groove is. Groove only has 2 birds, and one of them is negative points essentially. The Raven removes a point from your board.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're right. I think those 2 tucking birds are just so nice for Owlstanding. You know, they can score 5 points a turn at the end of round 2, which is just really strong. And yeah, with the card cycle as well, being able to just cycle through cards and pick the ones that you want to keep. They're in a really nice position. So they've got the worm. They can look to play that Forster's turn, and then draw cards once or twice, and then just start cycling through. You know, I think you make a good point about Groovenstein. There's not a whole lot of point generation. I think it is really going to depend on can he draw some big point birds. I think really what he needs is one of those tucking birds that Owlstanding's got in their grasslands.
Yeah, but I think at this stage, any grassland birds is going to be better than not having a grassland bird.
Yep. Yeah, they kind of need something that's going to give them eggs, or that's going to give them tuck cards, or obviously we've seen the Sandhill Crane come and go, but there is still the Canada Goose in there somewhere, so they'll probably be hoping for something like that.
We do see a catbird here. Not excellent for now, but worth investing for the future.
Yeah, again, it's one of those where at the moment there's not a whole lot that you'd look to copy. I don't think they need to copy either of those existing powers they've got, just because they're already swimming in food, so they don't need even more food. But yeah, if you get the goose, or if you get a tucking bird or something like that, it's going to be really nice to add with the catbird. So I think that's a smart play, picking that up now while it's appeared.
I don't know about the black tern, just because that's going to be his 5th wetland bird down, and it's only a 4-point bird.
Yep, I think it's a good point. I think maybe they've got half an eye on, at least I get another nest box down, so that's going to help with the bonus card, and they probably are going to need to spend a few more turns drawing cards, and the problem at the moment is they only get 1. So I think at least if they do get this turn down, and it looks like they might be doing a double play potentially with the Eager as well, so that's interesting. And yeah, that's just going to give them even more access to cards, so I don't mind that. It's a bit of a gamble, like you say, you're kind of filling up those wetland spaces that normally you'd see reserved for some of those really nice big point birds, those bonus card giving birds that you see at the end of the game. So yeah, he might regret that in future, but I think it makes sense just in terms of helping the card draw.
We see a crow here for
we do indeed,
which is so good for them at this point.
Yeah, it's probably the perfect bird. It's probably exactly what they're looking for. They do have a really nice food source already in their forest, but I think just being able to slap a crow on top of these tucking birds, you're generating points, you're getting food, and you're cycling through cards. Yeah. It's a really strong position to have.
They're gonna be able to really capitalize on the grassland now.
100%. Yeah, and yeah, I think they probably would have quite liked that catbird that Groovenstein has taken, but yeah, it makes sense to. Yeah, even if I think Groovenstein probably isn't going to play at this point, it makes sense from a denial perspective.
9-point bird against 4-point bonus card bird.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I think that feels like a bit of a risk to me. You get the safe 9 points versus the risky 4 and a bonus. You're
looking at least a 6-point bonus card.
Exactly. I think. We see it quite often in these games. It's very easy to get blinded by these bonus card birds, and you think, oh, it's a bonus card. I could get 8 or 10 points from that. It's huge points, but you might get 0. Is it worth taking that gamble? Certainly, it's odds for them to get rid of that and not, some of the other birds in their hand. They've got one of those migratory birds. I'd be really surprised if they play that at any point. Maybe for the end of round goal and their bonus card, but. Yeah, even the broad-winged hawk, that's not going to get played. It feels like a big risk to dump a bird like the night heron that you might have at least considered playing for something that you're never going to play.
Yeah, I think it might be the case here that Groove thinks he's in the back, and that he has to gamble to catch up.
Possibly, and just sort of my gut feeling at the moment is that he probably is behind. You kind of look, he's not got a whole lot of points on the board. Obviously the egret is 7 points, but the towhee's none, the whistling duck is only 2. I just feel like you kind of look at what Owlstanding has got set up. I think that kind of makes sense to have the bunting there. They can get that food and get the crow down, and then they've at least got four grassland birds. But yeah, the point generation is really strong, I think, for Owlstanding.
I was thinking about it. I actually preferred the other bunting here.
Yeah, possibly. I guess they've got to think about how many egg spaces I've got. They do have a lot of bowl nest spaces, but are they going to fill up before they are going to get the food to play another bird?
I don't know. We are reaching the end of round 3 here, and they do have the house finch and the foster stone, so I think they're fine. They only have 1 egg out of 25.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I think the other bunting could certainly have been considered. I guess at this point you kind of think, okay, how much more food am I really going to need? They're really kind of gambling on drawing some big point birds, and I think if they had gone with the other bunting and the crow, you might only get 1 food a turn, but with enough turns laying eggs, you're not gonna want to be playing too many birds because you're already scoring lots of points laying eggs anyway. So I think they probably would have been okay, but
I think that's the main difference. If you play the indigo bunting, you're looking at generating more resources to play more birds, whereas if you're looking to play the lazuli bunting, you're looking at activating your grassland more.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the more birds they play, it also means they're gonna have to pick up more birds.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd be surprised. I think at this point they're probably still okay. I'd assume they're going to look to play this crow, but then I think they could probably afford to cycle that Franklin's gull and just try and maybe if they can add another wetland bird to double up with that heron. But the timing's going to have to be really good on that, because you don't want to be playing those birds any time sooner than your final turn. Otherwise, if you then have to lay eggs afterwards, you're missing out on all those tuck points.
Ideally, if you can get a nose to catcher or something like that, that would be
agreed. That'd be very nice. And yeah, you kind of you probably feel safe giving a single card to your opponent at that point. So yeah, I'm just kind of looking at what Groove's doing. It's interesting that he did commit and play the catbird. We already said that felt like an odd play, but I don't know why they need all this food. It feels like a bit too much at this point, really.
No, I mean the catbird, essentially you play it, it's a bird that's going to give you 1 food that you can throw away, so it's sort of like a bird that gives you an extra egg.
Yeah, okay. I guess that makes sense. It just they probably were hoping for something better, something that is actually going to generate eggs or something, and then they could get the egg on top of discarding food for more. But yeah, I think even if they are discarding the food, they're still only generating 3 points a turn.
Yeah, and actually, if you pushed it, might be worth looking into. Just because his wetland isn't a no-point action, it's still a 2-point action. So he can alternate between the grassland and the wetland.
Yeah, I feel like it. Yeah, I feel like at this point, if you're Groove, you probably want to just draw cards just once and try and get some big point birds. I'm assuming he's going to play the King Rail. So if he spends 1 turn picking up birds and another playing the King Rail, that gives him 3 more turns. Maybe that's 1 more turn playing a bird and 2 more turns laying eggs. I think something like that would probably work okay. But really, it's just going to depend on the card draw. So interesting from Outstanding, they did have the Brant appear, which is kind of like the oyster catcher that you mentioned before, but they didn't want it. They decided to get rid of it. So yeah, it's kind of interesting they're still keeping hold of the crow, because I would have thought, if you wanted to play that crow, you'd have done so as soon as you could. As soon as that indigo bunting got that first worm, you play the crow. But they waited another turn, so it's almost getting to the point now where is it even too late to consider that crow? And do you just try and keep cycling through that?
I don't think they could play the crow if they still wanted to compete for the end of round goal. But yeah, at this stage of the game, it might be worth cycling the crow and keeping the warbler.
Yeah, yeah. I just wonder, do they have enough turns? Because I think if they're restricted to just getting worms, I think they might come up maybe one food short. So they might have to still spend a turn going to the bird feed. But yeah, I mean, you look at that reroll.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you want to see when you got the bunting. That's given them lots of options. So they can at least feel safe in being able to get food from that every turn.
Yeah. Might also be worth not playing the Great Blue Heron.
Yeah.
At this point, I would cycle the crow and probably take Sace Phoebe.
Yeah, the Phoebe's not a bad shout. They have got quite a few bowl nests down, and they're not short on worms, but they keep ending up drawing these lovely big point birds from the deck. So I think at this point they're probably going to look to try and get either one of the warbler or the woodcock down. I'm not sure they can do both.
Yeah, it might be. Well, we're gonna have to count the points here. It might be a little bit greedy because if they played, they could have taken Sace Phoebe straight away, played it, and then they would get an extra point every time they take eggs. It is a 6-point action, so.
Yeah. I think there maybe have been a few missed points here. I think you're right. They could have really extended that Grasslands out just to that 4th spot to at least get more eggs. But they have been consistently scoring more points. They've had those 5-point turns plus getting the food from the bunting. Whereas Groovenstein has really struggled with those sort of 2 or 3 point Grassland activations. They have got the bush tit down now, so do you think they're just going to lay eggs now and that's that, or are they still going to try and get that king rail down?
I'm not sure, because how many cards does he get in a wetland action? He gets 3 cards.
Yeah. Is it
So
worth?
I
Yeah.
assume you want to copy the bush tit and then go back to the wetland, get another 2 tugs that way.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a tricky one because I'm looking at the birds they've got down. They've got 5 ones that meet their bonus card, and they've obviously still got that migratory bird. So I really hope they don't play that. But yeah, certainly, maybe you could risk that 1 turn drawing cards and hope you get maybe like a woodpecker or something like that that's going to get you points and maybe a bonus card, but also help your existing one. Yeah, I guess we'll find out depending on if they're going to lay eggs here. Do they copy the bush tit or not?
Looks like I voted alone. I did vote for Groove. He does have the end of round goal advantage. He's gonna get this one as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think he has been quite strong in those end of round goals, and yeah, copying the bush tit there. That was how many 7 points I think from that activation. So
an 8-point activation. Yeah, 7 with the
because he did use the Raven. So it's tricky. I think you're right. He scored better in the end of round goals. He's probably just going to edge it on the bonus card as well. Could well come down to what he can get from that king rail, but yeah.
He may be able to max out his bonus card as well. But also, I don't think Sace Phoebe would be a bad play for him either.
No, again, he's got quite a few star nests and the bowl nest on the catbird, so yeah, not a terrible play. I would imagine he's going to look to get this king rail down and then draw cards, and then you can assess the situation depending on the bonus card you get from the king rail and what you can draw. Do I just tuck these, because I think he's going to get enough where 2 turns of just copying the bush tit is still going to get a lot of points. But he's got that flexibility of if I do draw something nice, maybe I can look to play that and score big points as well.
Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of how Owlstanding chose to play his end game.
Yeah, I think there were maybe a few mistakes in there. I don't mind the woodcock here. I think they were probably going to look to get that down anyway, and at least now they can just run that Grasslands for a couple of turns, and at least they're getting 6 points. But yeah, I think there was potentially more points to be had if they'd look to get that crow down and at least get some more food, because they've ended up with quite a few big point birds. Even the Phoebe in the tray you mentioned before that they've not looked to play. If they just managed to get a little bit more food with that crow, you could potentially play more birds and been able to score more points here.
This to me just looks less powerful than the Quo plus Lazuli Bunting combination.
Yeah, and I think you can afford to give a few eggs to your opponent as long as you've got the space to fill all of them, and certainly they've got plenty of bowl nest space at the end here. It looks like so. Yeah, maybe if they do end up losing this game, that might be the point where they look back and think, what if I'd done this instead? It's always difficult when you have those kinds of decisions to make, but yeah, from Groove's perspective, it's kind of straightforward. They obviously got a couple of points on the Whistling Duck during those cards, and yeah, it's fairly straightforward. Couple of 8-point Grassland activations here, so yeah, that's always nice to have at the end of the game.
He's also gonna easily get that end of round goal.
Yep. Yeah, I think he was just checking that on the previous turn before he took cards. He was thinking, okay, am I gonna have enough turns, and do I have enough spaces to fill? And yeah, certainly. I think he had the advantage in terms of spaces. It was just whether he had enough turns to fill them all. And yeah, absolutely. Yeah, laying eggs here. Yeah, makes sense. And he can fill that up and win that end of round goal.
Bit of a shame that he couldn't get another nest box bird.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a shame. But certainly, I think being able to win those end of round goals, yeah, you can see that advantage he has. And yeah, we'll see.
What do you call it on Groove?
You have. I think you're probably right. I probably would have said that Owlstanding had the advantage. Maybe in the middle of that third round. But I think Groove's managed to bring it back really strongly here, with some smart plays at the end. So certainly going to be close. But let's have a look. And there we go.
Ooh, very close.
Nicks it by 2 points. So I did wonder, were those tuck cards for Owlstanding gonna come and squeeze him back towards the front? But yeah, very, very close game. And yeah, I think at the end of the game, there were some decisions there, like we said, where maybe a couple of points were left on the table, and when you only lose by a couple of points, those kind of decisions they can make the difference between winning and losing. So
yeah, it was a very close end game. I thought Groove managed to use the birds he had very well here. Because he didn't really get what he would have wanted.
No. No, there wasn't really that additional grassland bird that you kind of look to pair with a raven, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I think certainly, given the birds that he was given, and sort of drew in that third and fourth rounds, I think he did manage that well. So yeah, I think that was very well played, and yeah, a very, very closely fought match. Which Groovenstein has taken. So as I mentioned before, this is a best of 3, so we will have a game 2, which if Groovenstein can win, they go through into the next round.
Especially, I kind of just want to mention the Whistling Duck did end up paying off really well here, since they had to go for a mixed engine, mixed wetland grassland.
Yeah, I think they got 6 tucks behind it in the end. So yeah, certainly it paid for itself. They had plenty of food left over, plenty of seeds to work with. So yeah, absolutely, looks like it made sense, and it helped, I think, with those end of round goals, like we mentioned before at the time. Getting all those cavity nest spaces really turned out to be crucial for those end of round goals. Okay, so I'll just check with the players. I think we are ready to go into game 2, and yeah, Groovenstein's getting the invite ready to go. And like we said, this is game 2, and Groovenstein went first in game 1, so we will have Owlstanding going first this second game.
An interesting start. Not that good.
We see the violet green swallow again.
Yeah. I saw it and I thought, oh, that's a good hand, but actually there's nothing else to go with it. I think at this point you're probably gonna have to play it in the wetland, and Stellus J is your best option as a woodbird.
It's a difficult one. I always feel like, when you have a nice tucking bird like this, it does feel like a bit of a waste putting it in the wetland. But yeah, when there's no real good options for a wetland bird in the tray or in your hand, it's kind of tricky to make that decision on, yeah, do I gamble and hope that something comes up, or do I play it safe and put it in the wetlands?
I mean, they are a little bit stuck here. They really have nothing else to do.
No, I mean it's tricky as well because of that food cost. You know, you can't even play it straight away unless you're really going to overpay. But you know, even the bird feeder we can see from Groovenstein's board, there's no worms there, so it's not even like you can pick up a worm and play it. It's really quite unfortunate there, I think, for having a violet green swallow like that.
Yeah, especially they can't play the wetland bird straight away, and they could pick up the Stellar Jay, but that's also a bird they can't play straight away. So
yeah, it's another one of those birds that you need two of the same food, and at least with that there is a seed. But yeah, it's not a great looking start. I wonder if they're going to look to try and get this finch down and just at least, you know, have some option of getting more food if they are going to discard. But interesting that they're keeping a fish, so I can only imagine they've got their eye on the puffin in the tray, which is a bold move to be looking to play that so early.
A bold move for someone who doesn't get food, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're sort of blinded by the two fish in the tray and think, okay, maybe I can spend a couple of turns picking those up. But yeah, like we said, you know, really limited food generation at this point. And if you have to spend so many turns just taking a single food, it feels like a really slow start.
Yeah. In this situation, I would probably keep the violet green swallow on its own, looking into playing it with 3 food instead of 2. I don't think there's that many other options here, really.
No, it doesn't surprise me that they're taking a little bit of time here, because it is a difficult decision. Like when you don't have great birds to pick from and you're kind of feeding off scraps and trying to pick the best of a bad bunch, it is kind of difficult to know what to do.
It is dire. Yeah. We haven't had a look at... Oh yeah, we did have a look at the bonus card. I think they have a nest box builder.
Yep, so absolutely works with the swallow, but not a whole lot else. Maybe they're looking at the star nest and the puffin and thinking that's going to help, but I don't know. It feels a bit too early for that from my perspective.
I don't think you can consider the puffin unless you already have a good forest engine.
Yep, agreed.
Especially
Alright.
because it's not a good wetland bird either. Like, it doesn't have a power.
Nope. No, I think the only reason for playing that is just to at least give you the option. You know, if you've got those extra eggs you can discard, but you're right, it's not the kind of wetland bird that you'd look to be getting down in that first round.
Alright, what's happening with Groove?
What is happening? Maybe he's gone and taken a break because that took a while.
Okay, that's a start.
That is much more workable. So yeah, straight away in with the martin and the killdeer. You know, do you keep the woodpecker here just as your forest bird? I guess it's better than nothing, but it's probably not the ideal keep.
Do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not bad. It's expensive, but it does give you an additional food, and you do have to think about what am I going to do on the first round, since I can kill this straight away.
Yeah, I think you're right. You kind of need to think carefully about your turns, and yeah, if you've not got anything in the forest, yeah, you're probably not going to spend turns drawing cards because you know that killdeer is going to get you sorted from round 2 onwards. You know, if you don't have that many birds down, you're kind of limited at how many times you can lay eggs. So the only option you have is drawing food, and yeah, again, like we said, with Owlstanding's position, you know, if you're only gaining 1 food a turn, it's a very slow way to start a game.
That's an interesting pick.
Yeah, probably not the bird I'd look to keep, but yeah.
Maybe looking into Stellar's Jay, but you know, you do have to consider that you going second. It might not be there.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if maybe it's just something to tuck behind the martin, but you know, if they play that and lay eggs once, you kind of already running out of egg spaces. So there's only so many times you can actually cycle through that and try and get a nice forest bird. I think certainly I would look to play it safer and keep the woodpecker. Like you said, it is at least something that's going to get you 2 food. And if you take the right food at the start, then certainly you can help reset that feeder and hopefully get some more seeds.
I mean, this is a case of, maybe you didn't want the woodpecker, but if you were given the woodpecker, just take it.
Yeah, exactly. I think certainly you take it over the loon. I don't think that loon is really going to see much action. I
mean, they're probably going to tuck it.
Yeah,
they
did keep the fish though.
They did keep the fish.
That's the thing. That's the thing. So I don't know. It feels odd to play the loon. Yeah, I really can't see how much use they're going to get from that. Obviously once the kill is down, they're not really going to look to play or look to activate that wetlands, and it's only got 1 egg space, so it's not even really, helping from that perspective either.
Nice to see that we have Elsie joining us in chat.
Aha, hello. We have one commentator in chat. If we get a second, we might be able to tick off another bingo square. So someone get on the phone to Tay-Ray, or maybe go and wake Chop up, even though it's about 3 AM where he is.
Okay, so I am confused now.
I wonder if that willet has come up and changed the plan.
Just saw that.
So, lay eggs, you tuck the loon, you can pick up the willet, and then at least play it. So, yeah, maybe slightly more egg spaces, and can start to dig through the deck and hopefully get a nice forest bird, because yeah, they've not really got anything for that.
I quite like what Owlstanding is doing here, probably looking into taking Status J with the Bronze Cowbird.
Yeah, it's interesting that they took the Bronze Cowbird. Obviously, they're not going to know that Groovenstein has the killdeer, but certainly that is going to pay for itself and then some. Once that killdeer goes down, he's going to be getting plenty of eggs from that. So yeah, I think that makes sense. And like you say, yeah, if he can get this Stellar's J now, although he's gone for the catbird, so
Swift is excellent for Groove.
Yeah, I would expect him to go for this. Although, I mean, you could take the risk and play the willet and try and go for it afterwards, but I think you just take this. You don't want to risk your opponent going for that, considering that they've not got any forest birds down either.
I would risk it just based on the fact that my opponent doesn't have a wetland bird.
Yeah.
Unless your opponent also has Franklin's Gull. Otherwise, Voice Swift is a pretty hard bird to take.
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
So not going for the...
No, they've gone for the Finch.
Okay,
nice bonus card at least, but yeah, I think they are probably going to look to ditch something and get the 2 cherries, but I don't know what they would ditch from their hand, because kind of the other 2 birds are nice birds that you'd look to keep and play.
I was thinking Stellar's J is a better bird than the Cassis Finch, but if he plays Cassis Finch, he can play the Bronze Cowboy straight away and start getting eggs.
Yep, that's a good point. Yeah, with that bonus, it's going to be nice. Oh, here we go. Wow. Was that a blind pull from the deck?
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably the perfect bird he could have pulled there. Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit slow. He's probably going to have to take a couple of turns, getting less than ideal food, just to at least get this Vouillé Swift down. But yeah, once that's down, he can get the food to play the Junco and the killdeer pretty easily, and then yeah, from round 2 onwards, once that killdeer can go down, it's kind of plain sailing, I think, for Groovenstein from here.
It's gonna be an upwards battle for Owlstanding here.
Absolutely. Yep. And as we said in game 1, we were chatting to both players before starting this stream, and they said they played at least 10 games against each other, and in every single one there was an OP bird that's come up. So in game 1, if you didn't join us for that, Groovenstein opened with the wood duck and then very quickly drew the raven, and in game 2 he started with the killdeer in his starting hand. So don't know what it is about these 2 players, but certainly they seem to attract these overpowered birds more than most would.
Yeah, a bit of an imbalance in the OP bird distribution though.
Yep, I think Owlstanding probably would have been hoping to be the one to get it this time, to at least even things up after that first game. But yeah, that's the That's what happens in this game. You know, sometimes the breaks go your way and sometimes they don't. And yeah, certainly I think once Groovenstein is able to build this engine up, it's going to give them everything they need. They'll be getting eggs, cards, and food all in the same action. And after that, it's just a matter of what they can get from the deck.
It's hard to say what Owlstanding's game plan here is.
Yeah.
It does look this sort of, I don't want to say wasting time, but sort of taking cards and seeing what happens.
Yeah, it does kind of feel that way. They picked up the Puffin last time. They've now picked up the Waxwing this turn. I don't know if they've kind of got a sense that that Groovenstein has the Killdeer, but yeah, I don't see how something like the Waxwing works here. They have no card generation. Where are the cards going to come from to tuck behind that? It can be a nice option, but yeah, I'm not quite sure how it works in this situation.
Especially because the end of round goal seems to be favored towards the egg engine again.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could think is maybe they were just biding time and hoping that Groovenstein was going to reset that bird feeder, because I think really they're looking for these worms. I think they're probably going to try and get this swallow down, although they go for a cherry, so maybe they're going to prioritise the Waxwing. But yeah, certainly felt like they were biding their time a bit, but I think it has cost them. Only 2 birds down in the first round. They're going to lose this end of round goal, and as they're going to find out pretty quickly in the start of round 2, this Killdeer is going to go down immediately, and then it's probably game over from there.
Groove is running Killdeer Jinko Martin. He's keeping none of the cards he's drawing. That's not exactly true.
No, he'll keep 1. He'll draw 2 from the Killdeer. One will get tucked behind the Martin, but then he'll draw 1, and then another one's going to go behind the Junko. I think he might have looked at the Waxwing, but obviously, if you do have Waxwing and Junko, then you're not gaining any cards. So I think this is a good position. So many times you see when you have something like the Killdeer, you draw a lot of cards that you don't end up playing anyway. So at least if you're able to turn those into food and points with something like the Junko, then
I mean,
yeah.
Junko Killdeer is definitely one of the most powerful engines in the game.
Yeah, agreed.
Easily. And if you think about it, just getting 1 card and tucking 1 is sort of like an upgraded wood duck. So.
Yeah, exactly, and you're getting points at the same time. You're getting eggs from that Grasslands activation, but you're getting loads of points from all those tuck cards as well. So. It's nice, and obviously something like the Martin is good to add because it just gives you that extra card cycle. So sometimes it can be a bit slow if you're only drawing bad cards with the Killdeer, but if you can at least cycle through some of those with the Martin, then you increase your chances of at least getting something that you might look to play.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like 1 turn taking eggs, and then he's going to be able to take food, get the Jinko down.
Yep.
It's looking really good for Groove.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's pretty straightforward here. You lay eggs, you see what cards you get. He's probably going to have at least 1 card he's drawn that is going to get tucked behind that Swift. And yeah, there's a seed in the feeder. You get the worm from the Swift, and then you play the Junko, and it's plain sailing from there, really.
Yeah, the thing with if you already have a Junko Martin engine is that you might think, oh, you're only getting a seed a turn. You're not really getting that much food. But your Grassland engine is so strong already that you can afford to just play whatever mediocre bird you get just to get more egg spaces and continue running the engine. Yeah,
absolutely. I think the strength of an engine like this is just being able to run it for as long as possible. He's not got a whole lot of egg space at the moment. Obviously, only gaining 2 eggs a turn anyway. But yeah, like you say, you're kind of limited in the food that you're getting. But I think by the time you have cycled through to a card that you actually want to play, you've probably gained enough seeds to force that down anyway. So you've kind of got flexibility there at least. Yeah, I'm just trying to work out again what Owlstanding's game plan is here. Really, they're kind of.
It is really hard to say.
Yeah, I think they're really intent on getting this Waxwing down. They've got the 2 cherries for it. I'm not really sure. you know, they picked up the Black Vulture as well on their last turn. You know, you got to play that. Okay, it kind of makes sense because it's free. You know, when you've got a bad food source, it's not a bad option to get down. It's still 2 points, and it extends that forest out so you can gain more food. But they're really thinking hard about this, and yeah, I'm not entirely sure where the sort of long-term plan is in terms of, you know, how am I going to get access to cards and, you know, strong access to food as well. It just doesn't really seem there at the moment.
I think one option he's not really considering here is picking up the red-breasted grosbeak, which is one of the only good food-generating birds we've seen show up, and throw away the waxwing to get an additional food because you can get a seed and reroll.
Yeah.
Probably get a squiggly boy and then play the grosbeak.
Yeah, you have a good chance of getting a worm on the reroll, and yeah, like you say, as soon as you can get that grosbeak down, you know, it's good in terms of points, but also it actually gets you 3 food a turn, which really at the moment they're struggling to do. I mean, in theory now with that waxwing they can, but I don't know how many times they can really afford to use that because the card draw just isn't there.
Hackswing is going to be more of a hindrance than a benefit, I think.
Yeah. Agreed. And there we go. Plenty of squiggly boys on the reroll, so they could potentially have looked to get the grosbeak down, but probably too late now. Yeah.
But now, I don't know, we're looking at a really low scoring game from Owlstanding. I don't see any way out.
Yeah. It's unfortunate to call it so early, but I think you're right. You know, all of these end of round goals, I think I wouldn't be surprised if Groove has a clean sweep here. You know, he's won the first one. He's going to win this second one easily. He's got plenty of time to find those extra forest birds, to get the eggs down for that third one. And yeah, again, time is on his side for that fourth one. He's going to want to be playing wetland birds anyway for his bonus card. So yeah, it's. I don't want to call it too early, but it feels like it's going to be a really strong win. You know, even this early in the game for Groovenstein.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even so much just the fact that Groove has busted birds, but Owlstanding just doesn't have anything at all.
Yeah, I think, you know, in situations like this, sometimes when your opponent has really strong birds, you can still kind of find a way out of it and find a way to make it work. I mean, you know, when he played that cowbird, you think, okay, great, that's the bird you want to be using to counter a nice Grasslands engine like this, because you are at least getting you know, some points whenever your opponent is activating their Grasslands. But that's kind of the only strong thing about their board. You know, the card generation is pretty weak. There's not any sort of good food generation either. It's quite unfortunate to see.
Yeah, I'm not dunking on Owlstanding for how they're playing it. It's just you know, sometimes you can play your best and still lose in Wingspan, and I think here they just they've just not been given anything.
No, I mean, like we said, when the opening hands came up, it was a really difficult decision. You know, it's not the kind of thing you want to see when you're going first. You know, the tray wasn't great, not a whole lot of good options in their hand either, so it was difficult. And yeah, you know, you're not always going to get given those great birds that are going to help you win the game so easily. Sometimes you do have to grind for it, and it does feel like they've struggled a bit here. Whereas Groovenstein, on the other hand, is just going to keep being given the absolutely perfect birds. So I think the crow here is a no-brainer. That's going to go down.
Almost painful to watch.
It is, yeah. It's like that. What is it? That from The Simpsons? Stop! He's already dead. I feel like we're going to need to pull that up at some point, because yeah, it's gonna get ugly.
I mean, 4 birds down by the end of round. 4 grassland birds down by the end of round 2 is. It's funny because I look at it from the perspective of someone who often plays against the AI, tries to get max score. If I had Groove's hand here, I would be pretty happy.
yeah, exactly. I think you're right. You know, getting 4 grassland birds that are going to build a nice engine by the end of round 2 is such a strong position. But when it's these 4 grassland birds in particular, you know, maybe the only thing better at this point would be a raven, but you know, adding that crow on top, 2 food a turn, along with all the cards and the tucks and the eggs, it's everything they need. And really at this point it's just digging through the deck, getting those big point birds. They've already got the heron that they're probably going to play at some point. And yeah, it's really at this point it's just going to be what the deck's going to give them, because everything else is well within their control.
Yeah. It's an easy game to play for Groove from here on in.
Yeah, it's one of those where you can kind of like sit back and not really have to think too much about what you're going to do. It's kind of like very algorithmic. You just keep cycling through your grasslands and see what you can get. Now it is interesting, after we spent so long talking up the crow, that they haven't played it. So
looking at the end of round
I
goal,
think he's
probably.
thinking about the end of round goal, because just with that last play from Owlstanding, I think if Groove had played the crow, they might have been at risk of at least tying. I think they just wanted to play it smart, and yeah, they've left the 5 eggs there. They know that Owlstanding can get at most 4 if they're going to discard this food. So that was a smart play, and yeah, they can still get that crow down at the start of round 3, and they're only 1 turn behind where they could have been.
Red-Eyed Viewer is also another really good pick for Groove.
100%. Yeah. When you're looking to that next end of round goal, if he can double that up with a Warbler or something that's going to get a bonus card, that's going to go in that forest, then yeah, you get points, you get egg spaces. It's a star nest, so it might help with future bonus cards as well. And yeah, that's a really nice pickup for Groove.
Give a bird to poor Owlstanding.
Yeah. Do you go bitten here? I think probably that's. I think you have to. He's sticking with the puffin though. He kind of is convinced that that's going to be the one that he's going to play at some point. Yeah, he's going to draw a 27-point bonus card with the puffin and get the win. No, I don't know. We'll wait and see, but yeah, I guess for Groove here, again, some really nice birds in the tray. He's probably got his eye on that woodcock, and maybe the cuckoo as well, just as a denial.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was going to say I would play the crow because I wouldn't be worried too much about
No, and to be honest, your opponent's only going to be able to take 1 because of their grasslands and their wetland setup. So yeah, I think it's pretty clear that Owlstanding's play here is just going to be try and get this bitten down. They would have been hoping for a fish on that reroll to add to that rodent, but this is Wingspan. You're not always going to get what you need from the bird feeder, like you're not always going to get what you need from the deck. So it's unfortunate. It'd be interesting to see if he's going to tuck that puffin for the cherry to be able to force the bitten down, but given how long he's been holding on to it, I'd be surprised.
Like the Flan Whooping Crane saga.
Hey, sometimes you just need a companion to get you through hard times,
Sometimes you just put your hopes in one card.
Oh, there we go. So yeah, I think he's still keen on getting that puffin down at some point. So yeah, we'll probably see some more food.
Goofy's gonna be able to get the woodcock here to the eggs in the forest.
Yeah, I think that's the play. You're gonna get 2 food a turn, so within a few turns he'll be able to play that, and then still have enough turns afterwards to lay eggs on it. So yeah, absolutely. I think that makes sense to get that down. Ooh, now that is a surprise.
Yeah. Okay. I was perplexed when he kept the fish.
Yeah, that confused me a little bit as well. I would have thought you go straight for a worm there so that you can get the woodcock. I don't know about that. That feels very odd.
No, I don't agree with any of that.
I feel like he's kind of tunneling a bit on this night heron when really you don't need to play that yet. That can wait until the end of the game. You need to focus on getting these forest birds down if you're going to compete for this end of round. That certainly feels like a misplay to me.
I mean, it might be just me, but I think all double birds are really good, and the Red-Eyed Viewer is the best.
Oh,
well,
100%.
Best upgrade, but as far as forest bird, it's so much better than the other ones.
Yeah.
That I would never touch it, especially with this kind of engine where you're not getting a lot of food and egg spaces are gonna matter. It's a star nest. You play it for not much. It's just such a good bird, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, I have to agree, and you know, he's able to get the food for it so easily from that crow. And you know, he's got other birds in his hand. Like there's that other forest bird. Is he really going to play that over over something like the Vireo? I don't even know what it is. I think it might be polluted woodpecker. But yeah, I don't know. It felt odd, and yeah, to take that fish now, you know, do you really need to get your wetland bird down now? I'm not sure you do. I think you know, you want to focus on getting that forest bird down so you can at least you know, have a chance at competing for that end round.
Yeah. I mean, they might be looking at the bonus card here, wetland scientists. But...
Yeah, I think they are, but you know, that can wait. I don't see the urgency to get those wetland birds down at this point. You know, you maybe the heron, but I'd chance on the deck. You know, maybe you get something like whooping crane that you can play instead. You know, I wouldn't want to waste the spaces.
He's not pressed for time at all.
No.
Commentators disagree on the play, on the bingo. You know, it's not even disagree at this point. I'm straight up annoyed with this play.
We'll add that as a new box.
How dare he took the red-eyed reveal? That's...
Yeah, no, certainly felt like an odd one. Interesting. Just looking at what Owlstanding has done, they saw the grackle come up in the tray and decided, yep, I don't want that bitten anymore. I'm going to go for the grackle. So I can only assume that's going to function as their sole wetland bird. But it does feel a little bit odd at this point.
Late game full tuck, maybe.
Feels a little bit too late even for me.
I mean, yeah, I think the bitten was actually a good bird to keep. I would have probably, well, and you would have done so as well, I think, tucked the puffin, played the bitten, so you can actually get the cards and probably bank on your Grasslands.
Yeah, 100%. You know, you need cards, and even with that bitten down, you know, maybe you only activate it once, but as long as it's giving you some cards that you can then cycle through, and yeah, the forest isn't terrible. It's still getting 2, potentially 3 if they do choose to do that tuck. So if they do get a nice bird, they could look to get that down. But yeah, I think grackle as your sole wetland bird at this point in the game, it feels a little bit late. And yeah, I'm not sure they're going to really get enough card access from that to be able to run the Grasslands much more.
Yeah. Great Blue Heron is pretty much exactly what Groove needs.
Yep. Let's see if he draws that and tucks it like the other double birds.
It's funny because he also drew the California Condor and tucked it. He took that from the tray, so I don't know if he did that to deny.
I think it was a denial. I think you see your opponent struggling for a wetland bird and not really having much food. I think that had to have just purely been a denial. I think from Groovenstein there. Okay, are they going to take the heron? Yes, they are. Good. Okay, so at least now,
my wife here.
at least now, you know, they can do the heron. Well, they can do both herons in a double play, and that's gonna at least qualify on the lower end of their bonus card. It's gonna score a lot of points. I do still feel like they've missed a little bit of tempo here, just on the end of round goal here. I mean, even on that last turn, you know, they could have taken another worm. They could have played either the woodcock or the warbler. And laid eggs on it, and really, you know, stolen this end of round, and that's a 6-point swing if you can win instead of losing. And I feel like he's just kind of given away that opportunity. I mean, it's not going to matter, I don't think, in the grand scheme of things, but you know, you want to squeeze every point out of the game that you can get.
He couldn't win it either way because Owlstanding has 6, woodcock is only 2 egg spaces.
Well, but he's got the warbler, so he's got that warbler which has got 4 spaces. So
you think play both of them?
Well, I'm saying play one.
Okay, my bad. I didn't see the warbler. Okay.
Yeah, because on his last turn, I think he used the crow to get a fish, just in anticipation of doing that double play. You know, he could have taken a worm. Or you could even play them now and overpay slightly with the seeds. I mean, maybe that is what he's going to do. But I think you have to get that warbler down. It's got 4 egg spaces. You're gaining 4 eggs when you lay eggs, so you can easily fill that up. I feel like he has to do that on this next turn, or you're basically just throwing points away and giving them to your opponent.
Yeah. The Quadruped Chicken is also a really good bird, actually. Yeah. We keep seeing good birds for Groove.
Yeah.
And
And not good birds for Owlstanding. It was interesting actually. On their last turn, Owlstanding, they went for cards and didn't tuck. So clearly they drew so many nice birds that they want to play that they couldn't bear the thought of tucking them. But I'm not really sure how they're going to get the food to play all three of those birds and make it work at the same time.
yeah, Groove. Elsie's asking, Groove did win the first game.
Yes.
I think it was 90 to 88 something.
Yeah, it was only a 2-point difference, so very very close. Something tells me this game might not be quite so close in the final scores, but you know, stranger things have happened, so we'll wait and see. But yeah, I was about to say some odd decisions. I thought he was going to take the warbler over the woodpecker, but he is at least keeping it. I just think, you know, he gets a nice number of points from his grasslands. You know, what is he getting? 4 points a turn. You know, netting off as well that he is giving one to his opponent. But you want to be playing those big point birds. And if you've got 8-9 points from a bird and you can easily get the food for it, you want to be playing it. And he is already getting to that point now where he's running out of egg space. So something like the warbler with all those egg spaces is just such a nice play, I think, at this point, and it feels like he's missed out on that.
I mean, I do agree with you that not playing the warbler is definitely a mistake. I don't think there's... Yeah, I can't really think of a reason not to do it.
No.
Because it's easy to play, not using the seeds for anything else, and
yeah. I mean, I'm just wondering what his next play is going to be. You know, he's going to have to play some birds. So is it?
Okay.
He's going to play the golden eye.
I was going to say the Prairie Chicken does mean he can throw the seed away and get more points.
Yeah, trying to predict what Groove is going to do in this game has been harder than anything else. So.
Oh, he's going for the full wetland scientist. Okay.
Okay, that kind of makes sense, but I don't know.
Is that a 4 extra point on the card? 3 to 7?
It's 3 to 7, yeah, but bear in mind that you lose those 4 points just from the extra eggs that you're paying anyway, so really you're only getting the face value on those 2 birds, the golden eye and the pelican, so 9 points for 2 birds played. I don't see it. You know, that woodcock on its own is 9 points, obviously 8 after the egg. Yeah, that feels like he's being blinded by the bonus card a little bit there.
Yeah. Playing the warbler was, what is it, 6 point swing for an 8-point bird?
Exactly.
1 egg, that's 13 points for a bird.
Yeah. I mean, he might get a few eggs, I guess, from this golden eye, but he doesn't need eggs. He's already going to run out of spaces as it is, you know, in the next couple of turns. So, yeah, I don't know. It feels like a slightly odd one. Yeah, maybe he's really trying to max out this last end of round goal as well, but I don't think he needs to worry about Owlstanding getting more than 2 wetland birds down.
Yeah. Timothy in the chat just mentioned for the end of round goal. I don't really know what he's worried about, if I'm being honest.
No. Well, he's clearly not worried about end of round goals because he could have won the last one and chose not to. So I don't know why he didn't like that one, but he likes this
exactly. one. He's just looking at his bonus card.
Yeah. I know on the bingo we have weird play solely for EOR. Can we tick that off as a weird play solely to lose the EOR, or does that not count? Maybe that doesn't count.
Funny because I feel like I said that not last time I was on maybe a couple games ago. Just because you win doesn't mean you played the best.
Yeah. No, agreed. I think on the whole, I think he has played this well. Obviously, with some really nice birds. You know, it is quite hard to play badly with the grasslands like this, but he did well to set it up in the way that he did and in the speed that he did. Certainly, some of the decisions on what to play have maybe not been the best. But yeah, that's one expensive puffin that's just gone down. And I don't know, Food Web Expert's okay, I guess, if you're going to play the video anyway, but probably not the kind of bonus card you'd look to pick up from that bird.
I mean, you're probably just doing eggs now. It's hard to get bonus points when you only have 6 birds down.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, they've kind of got the ecologist, which is probably one of the stronger ones they could have at 4 points. It's not really a whole lot other options that are really going to max out at this point. So, yeah, I think you're right. Probably just lay eggs at this point. You know, there's not even the right food in the bird feeder to get that Vouillé down. So, it's not certainly isn't worth spending 2 turns just to try and get the food for that.
Yeah. Oh, player gets screwed by the deck. Why didn't we tick down the bingo?
Does it count as being screwed by the... I guess the deck feeds your starting hand, so I'll allow that. I think that makes sense. So we're close on a couple of bingos. Probably not got the time to quite get a line, but we didn't get too many filled off in the first game, so it's nice to see some more squares filled off in this second game.
Do we have a poll? Who do you think's gonna win?
Yeah, I could do one. What's the winning margin going to be? I'll ask you for your thoughts on that as well, Mother Love. What do you think the winning margin is going to be here? Is it going to be 30 points or more?
Oh, Logis is another good bonus. I mean, I think the question is how much do you think Owlstanding is going to score? And that might be a sub 70.
Yeah, it's
especially because they did get one end of round goal. They were gifted an end of round goal.
Yeah, and they have managed to get quite a few good eggs as well from the cowbird. Obviously, we know Groovenstein's been laying eggs quite a lot, so that will have helped them. But yeah, when you've got so few birds down and not a whole lot of bonus card points either, then it's always a difficult position to be in.
And I think this is going to be below 70.
Alright, so I have put a poll up, so just for the winning margin, so which bucket do you think it's going to be in? I feel like you're probably on the money, Mother Love. It feels like it's probably about 70 points for Owlstanding, and you look at Groove and you think, okay, it's going to be 100 plus. The question is it going to be sort of in the 110s and the 120s?
Yeah, that's a question.
Where how high?
40.
I think it could, yeah. I think probably. I think it might just be shy of 40. I think if he'd played it right with that third of round goal, then absolutely, you're looking at a 40-point winning margin there, no doubt. If he got a nice bird to add in that wetlands that gives him a bonus card, maybe if he had the puffin or something else like that, and drew a nice bonus card there, then that could have been a good option. But yeah, I think he's done okay. Obviously that Oologist pickup on the Prairie Chicken was nice.
To be fair with Groove, the only thing that matters is winning the game. How much you win by doesn't matter.
Oh, absolutely. So. No, it's purely irrelevant for tournament purposes. But yeah, I think he's gonna do well. He's obviously maxing out 2 bonus cards. Dominated those end of round goals. Yeah. A lot of eggs, a lot of tuck cards. Quite a few big point birds as well. So. Absolutely, yeah, it's going to be a strong score regardless.
I hope I'm underestimating how much Owlstanding is going to score, but I just don't see where the points are here. 5 tucked cards, he's full on eggs, he doesn't even have 20.
Yeah, and with Groove winning basically all the end of round goals, not many points to get from there for Owlstanding. I think
6 bonus points total.
Six bonus points from three cards, which again is not great. Really the strongest thing I think about the play has been the cowbird. Obviously getting loads of eggs, but at the end of the game it's not helped because they're running out of egg spaces here. So feels a bit of a shame, but not a whole lot you can do about that.
It's worth asking ourselves what he could have done differently. I think certainly the worst-breasted grosbeak would have been better than the waxwing.
Agreed. Alright, so we have the scores counting up here, and I think it's probably not going to be a huge surprise on who wins here, but like we have been discussing, it's just about how much can each of the players score and try and maybe keep a little bit of pride here. Groovenstein's just going to try and max it out. And there we go, it's 111 to 73. So it's just shy of that 40-point margin. So those of you who went for the 30 to 40, well done. That was the right winning margin to have him. But yeah, I think...
Which was no one, I believe. Oh no, 20%.
Yeah, I think it was it was close there, but yeah, well managed, I think, by Groovenstein there. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
There's not too much to say about this game. It was.
no, I will take both players just quickly
I
off
think.
off
I
mute
think that
if they
there
want
are
to say
some
anything.
ways in which both of them could have notched a few more points, but I don't think the result would have changed.
All right, we have both players off mute, so Groovenstein, I'll come to you first. Congratulations on advancing through to the next round. You spoke before the game about all these games that you keep having with OP birds in, so yeah, you were maybe on the fortunate side of that in these 2 games.
Maybe, yeah.
No,
Yeah,
how did you feel those games went for you?
You know, the first one, definitely some gaffes. You know, I could feel some nerves. I mean, like just silly stuff, like drawing the single egret when I've got the wood duck and I can get the same thing with a piece of food and just.
You're not alone on this one.
Yeah, it's happened before.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure there were there were a couple other ones I remember too, and so I feel really fortunate to get away with that game because I'm sure if there was a choke square on the bingo card, I was trying to meet it. And then the second one, I mean, it was just that's like I've been on this side of it, I've been on the other side of it. I mean, that game was just. You don't want to say a game is over from the beginning, but it kind of was. I mean,
from our perspective, we could see how good your cards were, but we could also see how bad Owlstanding's cards were. He just did not get a break throughout the game. It was hard.
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, when I didn't see a wetland bird, go down when he played the waxwing instead of a wetland bird, I'm like, man, this dude is just on the bad end of it today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how did you find that Owlstanding? It certainly in that second game at least, it just kind of looked like you were struggling to get anything going really from the birds you were picking up.
Oh, absolutely. Firstly, congrats, Groove. Our rivalry continues, but second game, I mean, just trying to make lemonade out of lemons. I see the purple martin go up, then the killdeer, and I just probably one of the roughest starting hands I've had. I played a Cassin's Finch, the first card, and I'm like, I mean, that's when I'm just desperate to get some food, and then the bird feeder would not cooperate. I wanted to get the Bell's Vireo out and the Puffin, and the Puffin was with me almost all game. I couldn't get a fish. It was just ready to submit the ELO now, And then the first game, best effort. I mean, a 2-point margin of victory. You second guess everything, but you see the wood duck played in the first bird, and he just seemed to be one step ahead of me on the end around goals too. So good game. I just wish second game I just was ready to call it a day.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, that first game. That was almost on a coin flip, that could easily have gone either way. So very closely fought. Considering the wood duck and the raven go down, I think to hold it that close was very impressive. And yeah, I think you summed it up well. That second game just kind of struggled really to get things going, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I think as soon as you see the killdeer and the martin and the junco and everything else go down, you are ready to sort of throw in the towel a bit there. But yeah, that's the way the game goes sometimes. But yeah,
this game was a really nice one though. I really liked Groove's end game here. It's funny because we were saying while the game was happening, I think there might have been points left on the table here, and when you see a 2-point winning margin at the end, you think.
Yeah, very close, and yeah, like I said, it could easily have gone either way. But yeah, well done once again to Groovenstein who goes through to the next round. I think we'll probably wrap the stream up here, but thanks again to both players for taking part, and also to Motherlove for keeping me company through this. But also thanks to everyone who has tuned in. Hope you enjoyed that. Certainly a good couple of games to watch. So, yep, thanks, and we'll see you again on the next stream.